Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this new Nothing album, the great Dismal. Nothing are a Philadelphia-based band. They've been at it for a few years now, and around the time of their debut, Guilty of Everything, a lot of people were pushing this band my way, saying that I would enjoy their stuff, and at the time, I certainly did. I enjoyed their debut album quite a bit. The band's blend of shoegaze, noise rock, dream pop, and slowcore just seemed really fresh at the time. None of it was tacky. As a matter of fact, a lot of these sounds were getting new life. However, the band's follow-up album, Tired of Tomorrow, is not nearly as good as far as I'm concerned. At the time, I was not into the production on this, even though it had some okay singles, but overall, it actually became one of my least favorite rock albums of the year. However, they did win me back with their last album, the very crunchy, angsty Dance on the Blacktop. I thought a lot of the singles on that were really fantastic, and as a whole, just showed them getting back to where they should be. Now, I was debating talking about this album, but honestly, the singles leading up to this album sounded great. So let's chat about this thing. This album starts off with a Fabricated Life, and honestly, it's just what I wanted to hear. I love the hushed sound to this track, the patience and the pacing on this thing. Nothing have me beyond the edge of my seat. No, they have me standing ready to take in whatever Nothing has to offer. But it's just so monolithic sounding, so incredibly emotional. Honestly, it even gets me choked up at times. It also just has this incredible sense of finality to it. It just absolutely rips your heart out. And honestly, it just plays to all of Nothing's strengths, especially in like the last couple of years. Not only is it dreamy, but it's also super emotional. It has great songwriting. There's elements of slowcore here. Not for nothing, but I think Nothing has finally nailed it. Say Less, on the other hand, is a completely different animal. This one is sort of modern shoegaze by the books. It has a big, crunchy riff and some flashy production. And honestly, they continue to do these sounds a lot of justice. Even if this track is a little bulky, I honestly don't hate that. I think it actually sets them apart. There's also a sort of throwback element to this track and a lot of this album that reminds me of like what I would have listened to in the early 2000s, which I can't say no to. I'm also pretty shocked with just how heavy this album gets at times. Take for example April Haha, this track is a lot heavier. There are some noisy, wild riffs here. This one almost reminds me of like what Dive was doing on their last album. I love how hazy and dreary and psychedelic this comes off. These guitar tones here are awesome. But also at the same time, I can't remember the last time I heard Nothing sounding this focused, this determined. All around, I am loving this. And for me, Famine Asylum is track of the album. It's crunchy, it's a little grungy, it sounds like something that would have maybe popped on the alt-rock charts in the late 90s. It's a little rough on the ears, but it's also super catchy. It's just so colorful, even kaleidoscopic at points. To be honest, it's probably going to be one of my favorite rock singles for the year. I think this rips. It just feels like overall this is like the mission statement for the album. Not only that, but by the end of this track, it's just so freaking explosive. Now, I will say this. I think Nothing have nailed it on this album. This is a great album. However, when it's bad, let me tell you, it's really bad. Catch a Fade is my least favorite track here. I don't know who asked Nothing to go indie for a few minutes, but I'd love to talk to them because this sucks. This reminds me of every quality that let me down about their Tired of Tomorrow album. There's no teeth to this, no edge in sight, no emotion. And Blue Mecca isn't that much better. The thing is, though, from a distance, there isn't that much wildly different about this track than a lot of the rest of the tracks here. It's still super washed out, super hazy, but it's not done well at all. Compared to other tracks here, it is incredibly safe. Like, nothing happens. Outside of that, though, this is real solid. Dare I say, Nothing's most consistent album. Bernie Sanders was another very solid track that had me really amped up to hear this album. Once again, it's a very grungy, throwback-sounding track. But I don't think that's a bad thing. It never comes off anything, like, really cheesy. As a matter of fact, it has me feeling nostalgic. Not only that, but this one really shows Nothing sitting back, dealing with a groove, letting it grow over time, and really rocking it. It ends up being incredibly hypnotizing and another knockout. I'll be honest, I thought In Blueberry was going to lose me the first time I heard it. At first, I thought this track was a little too washed out, a little bit too reverb heavy, especially for a much slower track. But Nothing have their way of making this their own once again. It's, once again, surprisingly heavy at parts. which from a distance I don't think I would have enjoyed if I knew that this sound was coming. But honestly, right now, it sounds great. And from a production stance, this wall of sound that we're getting here, the guitar tones, everything works in their favor. Justice Story has like right the amount of oomph that I needed right now. From that opening riff, I just needed this so bad, especially after just how terrible Blue Mecha was. This one just sounds like a powder keg ready to explode. The drumming here and the production are stellar. It's a staggering, crunchy tune that's surprisingly triumphant as well, especially with just how epic and grandiose it gets towards the finale. And Ask the Rust as a finale here, honestly, I'm surprised at how heavy this is. I mean, obviously, I didn't expect a heavier, grittier album overall, but here we are. By now, they've tapped into this throwback style that I would have gone for years ago, and they are playing it with all the heart in the world. It's emotional, it's grisly, it's kaleidoscopic, it's colorful, it's determined, it's heartfelt, it's a lot else too. I mean, obviously, if you're not into shoegaze and hazy rock with tons of reverb in this style, you are not going to be into this, but for me, this works, man. I've enjoyed Nothing's work for a while now, but there's always been little hits and misses on their albums that overall have had me not be able to enjoy an album of theirs, at least not to this extent. This makes me feel like Nothing have nailed it. I mean, I will say this, the couple of tracks here that are bad are God, so awful, and reminds me of why I fell off with this band for a while, to be perfectly honest. But overall, for a modern shoegaze album in this style, I think this is a really tasteful album in these genres that Nothing closed down on. I'm feeling a decent 8 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.